Hey, I'm Native Mammoth Press, and today on the Multicade, I am joined by the incredibly talented, longtime friend, and Pen Clique co-star, Adam McLaughlin. And together, we're going to play some Punisher, the arcade game. So, good news. Quarters are on me.
Yes, fantastic.
So if you need more, you just spam that coin button.
Okay. As you know, I would go run frantically for coins. If I needed them.
No more.
Okay. So is this one right here?
Yep. And then hit start.
I like how it's curved. Oh, getting punched already.
So this is, you have a jump and a punch. It looks like.
You can got a little combo. I'm Nick Fury and I need money. Got it.
So much money.
This is for the U.S. military.
Cigarette.
Oh, yeah, big barrels. Oh, what the heck?
Oh, I hit both buttons at the same time. The jump and punch, so it does like a room clear, it looks like. Oh, and a pizza, because, even Alien vs. Predator had pizza. Like, you could just pick up a pizza in Alien vs. Predator. Like, man, everybody was going after that.
Time to face justice.
Ninja Turtle money.
Everyone had pizza. Oh, I have guns? This is different.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay. I was like, we don't have guns anymore. Alright, so pick this up.
Muy interesante. Oops, grenade.
There it is.
Don't worry, the cabinet is on carpet. It's got wheels underneath it. But I do have I have it hooked and mounted to the wall.
Oh, okay.
As well. So
give me that grenade. Oh, I just threw him. Yes. Oh, because I was behind him. That's right. Wait. Oh, throwing guys. I feel like we're it's not the kind of brawl Nick Fury would get into. You know, he's more of a man of mystery, super spy guy.
He's just not
Now he's in the Warriors, and he's fighting all the...
Right. It's like a West Side Story with Nick Fury.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I'm almost dead. Okay, so I need to watch that.
I mean, you don't, actually.
Oh, yeah, because I have coins.
Oh, yeah.
Unlimited coins.
Yeah. So, our earliest story was 5th grade, Laura Ingalls Wilder Elementary.
Yes.
You and Chris Buterbaugh
Yes.
were two...
Which we were talking about earlier today.
Right, yeah. We're two, really talented... And I had this way of finding other talented artists, because I always like to, those are just my people. So, for you, it was like you were always drawing, you're always doodling, always, and so,
Ow!
So I found myself sitting next to you, copying you, learning.
Well, that's what all you did back then, was you just copied
right.
stuff.
Because, I mean,
I copied up Chris all the time.
Did you really?
Yeah, he came up with this kind of half shark, half man. And I literally drew that.
I remember that.
And I drew 80 different kind of versions of it, like female versions.
Oh, really?
Like different.
So you got creative. I just
I took
straight.
It was so, but he's the one who came up with the idea. So it's like, yeah, he's copying.
So if it wasn't drawing, we were playing video games.
Yes.
Yeah, we were drawing, and I didn't learn from I didn't know comic books. I didn't,
Right.
So if I was watching cartoons, playing video games, and drawing, and I was usually drawing what I was watching or playing.
Right.
GamePro magazine, Nintendo Power magazine, those were the characters that I was drawing. But when it came to creative people, like original characters, you were one of the first I ever met that drew original stuff.
Really?
And it's just like, maybe I could if I was creative enough to come up with stuff like this.
I love how sincere we are when I'm lighting people up.
It's a very touching moment.
Yes, people are they're losing their lives. And we're
losing their lives in the most awful way.
Yeah, in a terrible,
oh my
terrible
God,
way.
thank you. But no, and that was, that was, I guess, our common link was, video games and honestly drawing. When it came to drawing, I didn't feel like I had much to bring to the table, so I just kind of watched. And
you say that, but I think you never give yourself enough credit. I'll put it that way.
Maybe. I mean,
but because that's what you inspire. When the art community, that word actually exists because people want to bounce ideas off. They want to see something and go, "What if?" And then they come with something on their own. That's all we did as kids.
Yeah, I mean, in a world where people just make shit up as they go, and you make it up and you learn from it. I wasn't really making up my own stuff so much. I felt like I was in the basics, and I mean, I think everybody has that, even still today.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, look at that! I got a skull. So,
is that a bad skull? Oh, it's a bomb.
Oh, it's a bomb. Interesting.
Yeah.
Explosive head. So. Keep swapping out for the same swords. Oh yeah.
Oh, I love how these guys come down. They're just like like Stiltman from Spider-Man.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, that's a thing.
That is and now there's a female Stiltman.
So when we do panels and stuff, like it was years since then because I moved to Willard, and I hadn't seen you for probably I don't know till. A decade, or I don't know, man. It was a long time ago. I mean, it was 5th grade, and I think we knew each other in maybe 6th grade, and then it wasn't until after high school that we ran into each other.
That's right. Paige and I were on a date. I remember we ran into you. I was in college, and we ran into you at a movie theater. It was at 11.
Yeah,
we had full blown catch up moments. We're furiously telling each other what's been going on.
Oh my gosh.
Definitive years of our lives.
And I saw you at whenever VisionCon was at the expo center
in Branson,
at the south end of town, before it closed down.
Oh yeah.
You were sitting. You had just your sketchbook on the table.
I had,
and I don't know if it was even your table, but you're just.
It wasn't.
I was like, I think Adam
someone else's table.
And it was just so cool to see seeing you behind the table with that artwork for the first time, seeing where you had gone, even since what I remember, from 5th grade.
Right, yeah.
And seeing what you've been doing, oh my God, it's incredible. And even still, last night was if anybody has seen the Pen Clique for the most recent Pen Clique, you'll see everybody else's reaction to him because he couldn't actually be a part of it. He drew a picture and submitted it, and he couldn't be actually there to talk about it. Right. So it was the ultimate mic drop of I'm gonna just leave this here. Peace out, guys. And the rest of us were just fuming with we were so happy for you.
Yes, of course.
No, we were. We knew it's only Adam could do this. Because you had this giant
Oh, he was so much fun to draw and took forever. Those chains, drawing those chains took forever.
The prompt was that we had to take a Coca-Cola ad with Santa and replace them with
Krampus.
With Krampus. And everybody's was really good. I was really proud of everybody.
Exactly.
Adam was just we started with his because he wasn't in it.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to appear on camera for the feed.
I guess we're supposed to jump over those barrels?
I guess so.
Well, we've been destroying barrels this entire time, and now we can't kick them.
We see this enormous ram bull combo with a Santa Claus strapped to his groin like a loincloth, like a human body of Santa Claus, frightened out of his mind, chained to his body, wearing him like clothing. And then chains holding basically a whole refrigerator to his shoulder, full of Coca-Cola, and just chains, all and it's just what? And I think the common thing is just I know Adam,
yes,
he's one of the genuinely most sweetest, most decent-natured person I know, and he comes up with this stuff.
Yes,
how? It's not frightening. We're not concerned by any means, but it's just where does that part of your brain?
Okay, so I love this question because there is I love people. I love meeting new people, and I'm an extrovert with introverted tendencies and all that good stuff. But I mean, when I started drawing horror comics, I got kind of scared myself on what I would allow in there and what my brain would come
Like,
up
what
with.
you were okay with.
Yeah.
Like, no, that gets a pass. I don't know why.
Yeah, but and I actually I talked to my youth pastor about it because we're good friends and he's
That's
really
right,
younger than me. And it was one of those moments like I just drew a comic where like these middle schoolers are doing Ghosts in the Graveyard and they get picked off kind of one by one and I'm in youth ministry.
Right.
Is this gonna be a problem?
But the more specific details, these kids are being captured and broken in half back in a comic. That was my introduction to like, we might need to talk to Adam. Like, is this a sign? And
It's all in good.
Your response was like, no, I talked to my youth director. It's fine. But you lead a youth group.
Yes.
And then, but you know,
so it's horror is amazing. But again, going back to like when I was in elementary school, like those are the books I went after. When I went in the library, I always looked for the wit and at Lord Goes Wilder in their library. I always looked for the icon on the side that had the witch silhouette.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
those were the ones I always went after, and so like got goosebumps and.
The stories you tell in the dark.
Scary stories you tell in the dark.
Right.
And that's just what I gravitated to. So what happened?
I hit. Oh my gosh.
Did we start over?
It started over.
Yes! Not a problem. We can sit here and have a nice little chat. So that Krampus idea was really fun. People get to vote on it. And I actually struggled a lot with like what to do, because I was like, I love Krampus. I think he's a very interesting concept. But like, what do you do with that beyond just making a scary monster guy?
Right.
And so I brought in a few more kind of exaggerated elements, and that's what. Luckily, it worked. You know, his size, his horns, the fact that Santa's strapped to his belly, and with chains.
And do you plan that stuff out from the beginning, or is it like, no, you know what, I'm not gonna. You draw his anatomy, and then you think, you know what, no, I'm gonna put a human being there. Like, do you plan it out ahead of time, or do you just come up with it as you go?
I mostly plan. So I have words, and I start with concepts and stuff. I have a very bad memory, so I have to write stuff down, or else I will forget. Like, oh, that's a cool idea. Maybe I'll bring that in case it works. And the Santa thing edition was I was at work and I was on the phone with someone, and for whatever reason that pops into my head because your brain keeps that in the back of your mind, like keeps toying with stuff.
Right.
And yeah, so I wrote down a post-it note: Santa strapped to Krampus, and then that's what happened. So that might just be a product of my work environment. I don't know, but. It was such a fun thing, and it sucks that I wasn't in there to hear, because I got to see some of the other people's artwork in the little thumbnail, and it was really exciting to see what other people came up with.
It's interesting how we have something that's we figure is pretty simple, but then there's people that go like the extra mile on research, and they figure out the history behind certain elements that they're going to add to it, and that's what really fascinating about it is everybody's different approach to the same idea.
That's why it works. That's why the whole Pen Clique thing works. If you've never seen Pen Clique, it looks like pin, like a click of people, right?
Yeah, right.
That's how it's
that's how it's spelled, right?
But it's hosted by VisionCon, which is a convention here in Springfield, and they Deanna does a fantastic job of including everyone and making sure everyone gets their moment in the spotlight, because there's a lot of work that goes into those.
Right.
But I look forward to it every month. Every month I look forward to when I'm going to get the next assignment. It feels like I'm a little back in school, and I love school.
And it's something that, it's interesting in the con scene, with COVID, everything being shut down, conventions ended. There's no more.
No.
I mean, at least for, until next year.
Yeah.
And it's really...
Even then, it's going to be tentative, like, if everything's going to roll out and if people are even going to go.
Right.
People still be pretty shell-shocked to go.
What's interesting is, like, how this COVID thing, the other side of it is that we've established how important it is to the networking and the person, you know, and the personal relationships that we can keep throughout the year.
Yes.
To where before we would work our asses off for a whole year for 2 days, you know, and maybe come out even, you know, like, and on a financial, granted, it's more tradition for me. Like, it's not really so much about the money, but you know, it's just like, you work your ass off completely in the shadows, and then you have 2 days to show up and be like, oh, hey, it's a thing. I've been doing all this stuff. And you don't really have that much time to talk to people.
Yes.
But doing it this way throughout the year, on a regular basis, there are always things keeping everybody relevant and everybody connected. So it's like when we do come back to VisionCon, I think VisionCon is going to be, especially Artist Alley and the stuff, we get, you know, we can be more involved throughout the year, to where it's almost like just a yearly meetup to celebrate everything we've been doing throughout the whole year and keeping everybody, you know.
But
I think that's an incredible thing. I mean, as shitty as COVID is, you know, and how the world stopped, you know, we're in a new renaissance.
Yes.
And
I headbutt that chick.
yeah. I hope nobody really cares too much about the order of the levels. That's my fault. I forget that, you know, sometimes I get a little crazy with my buttons, and I hit this. It's a very specific key press that will shut down and go back to desktop. And leave it to me. I did this I did this during the Rampage one too.
Let's get to kill gangsters again.
Yeah.
Well, the idea of the Pen Clique, I think, is a great extension of what Clever Kaiju is already doing. Meeting weekly, getting to see where everyone's at.
What started off as like a collection of artists that, you know, got together to complain about, you know, clients or the industry or, you know, their own mental health issues being a, you know, creator. It ended up becoming something more than just a bunch of whiners. You know, we actually
make stuff together, encourage each other, share skills and, you know, programs and
and
what we're doing,
and really consider, like, well, I mean, is it just enough that I do this stuff? Because, like, and I think a lot of us have this similar kind of mentality, like, especially in the design world, the more corporate, like, administrative design field. It's not just like art for the sake of art. We're not artists so much as we provide a service that helps people.
Yes.
Whether it's drawing something specific for them, but we're helping them with their brand and their, you know, what's important to them. Like, it's just as much a trade skill as anything else. That, you know, I think artists are seen, or the idea of doing art for a living, it's seen as, like, you know, those, I don't know, they're like privileged kids that get to sit in their studio apartment and
They're
sell for thousands of millions of dollars, and it's like, yeah, those exist, but, you know, it's not who I am.
No,
it's not the kind of art I do.
No, I like to struggle with my art.
I mean, I won't even go that far either.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Let's work on something for 2 days to only be seen by 8 people. Whatever.
That's. I mean, that sucks, but that's, you know.
Woo. The convention scene is going to be really interesting, seeing what happens next year. And what people don't know, and, like, I know I'm not alone in this, is when you come to a convention and you see an artist, they have been frantically trying to put out something new for that entire month. Like, that, they don't know. Like, you see it, like, oh, that's really cool. It's like, yeah, that really cool thing. I literally neglected everything else besides eating and going to the bathroom to get that on this table, because I needed in my mind to have something new.
Right. You're right. That's a good point. Like, yeah, it's like people show up and they have 2 days, and really everybody's focus is wanting them to be like, oh, well, you know, the new Marvel movie that came out, you know, finding, and it's like, we're fans too, so we understand.
Oh yeah.
But I almost lost, you know, a relationship or a marriage, or, you know, I lost 30 pounds, you know, stressing over this. And it's like, it's not fair to expect anybody else to give a shit about what you've been slaving away at, you know?
True.
But it's an interesting scene, you know. So, and I think that is something where, you know, like with Vision Cons, for example, like the regular scheduled content online, to keep people updated on what's going on. So the stress of having to, making something doesn't have to compete with the stress of selling it.
Yes, agreed.
So Chris Beaterball was a big personal reference. Is there anybody else, or were they more on the professional lines that you followed that you strived for?
Well, the first person I started copying was my sister. She's 12 years older than me, and we're very, very similar in our interests and stuff. Even to this day, we're 12 years apart, but we have the same degree from the same school with some of the same professors.
Oh, cool.
And so we're very, very similar in that. So when I was growing up, I just copied what she was drawing. Well, she would do doodles of dogs and stuff, but then I would draw dogs and stuff until I started drawing cartoons that I liked, like we were talking about. I like Ren and Stimpy was huge.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I draw Ren and Stimpy, and then I would occasionally pick up a comic. I don't know why. It must have been around them because the comic, or not the comic cave, but the Caveman Comics was big. And I would occasionally go in there not knowing what I was doing, but just knowing there was a lot of art and cool stuff. And I'd maybe pick up a comic or two occasionally, especially when they had deals. And then copy. I mean, I've got some Image comics that I would just draw the carnage that was happening. Very common theme for me. Is that. But yes, and then professional, I don't know, until I got into college, actually I didn't get into comics. There was a comic shop here in town, still exists. It's called Game Master Comics. And it's run by Jerry. I don't even know Jerry's last name. And it was in this shopping strip it was like a big giant closet full of closets. It was so dinky, and it smelled like strawberry starbursts. I just remember loving the fact that I didn't have to be someone to go in here. I didn't have to know I loved X-Men, from the cartoon and stuff. But I didn't have to be a professional subscriber to know or appreciate some of the stuff that was there.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so I felt very, very comfortable going in and buying comics and stuff from there. So, and I just love how rinky-dink it is. And he's now since upgraded to a better shop location, but it was still really fun at the time. And that's where I met Kevin. He worked down the street from there. And
right on.
Yeah, we're in line. He was buying Fable's statue, like a little statuette figure. And we're in line, and he struck up a conversation with me, and we started talking about the fact that I was in college for art and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, that's really awesome. You should bring in your work." And so one day, I think I did for my portfolio, and we talked about making a comic together. And that's how I got started drawing werewolves all the time.
Okay, that's a perfect segue. I was curious, was horror something that you always loved? What got you into it?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, from elementary school that I can remember, where I was picking up horror stories all the time, and I would eat through a Goosebumps title in a day or 2 days when I was in elementary school, because I just loved it. Loved it so much. It was so funny just to see. I like fables. I like stories that have severe consequences. Horror does that. You know what I'm saying? It's just really intriguing to me. So, yeah. So we started a comic together called "When Angels Aren't Looking." Actually, it was that. It was kind of like Supernatural, the show. Neat. It's just one dude, but it's I don't know. All the bad guys you can think of, aliens and. Not aliens, but werewolves and monsters that go bump in the night, that type of stuff. It actually ended up being my college senior project. I drew 11 pages of this comic called When Angels Aren't Looking, and I displayed them for my final project. I was very proud of it. It was not good. If you go back, and I guess all artists do that, but you're like, yeah, this could have been better. No, it could have been much, much better. But I didn't know what I was doing. I was coming from just draw. I didn't know how to tell a story. I just knew I liked drawing. Pretty much what it was. And so after college, we tried to put it together and make it a thing. Because he's put out a comic before that called Guy Pumpkinhead.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that's what its ultimate intention was. But I kind of lost interest. Other things were going on. I was getting married. Other things were going on. So we kind of scrapped it and didn't talk for a few years. Not because we were mad at each other, just kind of fell out, doing separate things. And then I ran into him again, and we started talking about doing this werewolf comic. And I was like, dude, you had me from werewolf. Like, you pitched me this whole thing, and I was like, you had me at werewolf. Because they're my favorite monster. And so that's when we came up with...
Listen to the thunder.
Thank you. God.
Yeah.
Dude, multitasking is not a strong suit.
I understand.
So yeah, and then that took years to make, but we were both very patient and put together a strong group. That's how we met Javier and how we...
So Javier Salteras.
Yes!
Which is a heavy name in the comic scene, if anybody's a fan of...
It's still in the comic scene, too.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. His daughter, Sarah, was with us in the stream last night.
Was she?
With Pen Clique.
Oh,
we got to hang out with her.
I miss her.
How did that relation, how did that kind of fall in? Because not only that, but you also have co-writer Cullen Bunn, who's another Marvel superstar writer.
So, with Javier, it was one of the coolest experiences that we had, because Kevin, his wife, was the manager of a Big Whiskey's, and she hired Javier's kids to work there, and so he was like, "Wait, Javier Sarteras from?" And she was like, "Yeah, I guess." And so, I pressed the button over here.
Oh, that's fine.
What do I do? Okay. I didn't want to restart it again. Yeah. So she hired their kids, and then got word through to Javier, hey, these guys are wanting to draw a comic. Do you mind taking a look at it and seeing if they can help? And by that point, I had drawn everything with the last 2 pages. So I'd drawn 18 or so, 20 or so pages. And he came over to my house, and he came over with his son, and Kevin and I were just beaming with anticipation. It was like kids at Christmas. We were, I mean, it was no joke. We were just like, trying to be real about it. When Kevin's like, if he stays for more than half an hour, then we know we've got something good. That's
right. Yeah.
If he takes one look at it, he's like, yeah, it's all right, and he leaves in like 15 minutes. He's like, this is not going to be great. He stayed for 4 hours. And we talked about Marvel. We talked about everything under the sun. And it was like catching up with someone, like an old friend, but we had never met him before.
Yeah, and that's something about him that I've always, even in the quickest conversation, he's genuinely involved in it.
Exactly.
And he's had to deal with so many different people in his career.
Yes.
He doesn't owe anybody anything.
Nope.
He doesn't have to give any, interest to anybody, but I don't know, maybe he just genuinely is, or he's just really good at being that guy. I don't know.
He likes seeing artists succeed, and so we talked about Marvel, we talked about the pages, and while he was there, I remember he was looking at I'd drawn actually the last 2 pages. Sorry, I'd drawn everything. He looked at the last 2 pages. He goes, "I have an idea. Do you mind if I draw out something for you to see?" And we're like, "Why are you asking?" Of course. You want to draw something for us? Yes, please. He did these 2 thumbnails on a little scrap piece of paper, and they were what ended up what I recreated for the comic, and it gave the last 2 pages their umph.
Gotcha.
And it's all about storytelling. He's a fantastic storyteller.
And you did it with very little dialogue. Like the pace of the book was
lightning speed. Yeah, you're just... And that's that kind of the genuine nature. Kevin and I always were like, we like horror that they don't show the monster.
Yeah, me too.
Till the end.
It's just that, that whole Jaws.
Yes.
As soon as you see it, it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah. It's cool, but that anticipation of, them leaving tracks and devastation behind, and then you get in your mind what it's supposed to look like. It's fun. So he drew out these 2 thumbnails, which I still have to this day. Kevin had one, and I have one. And that's what ended up, I redrew the last 2 pages, and it really did provide that oomph that we needed for the end of our comic. And so I'm eternally indebted to them for just giving us the time of day and giving us that boost that we needed.
And I mean, knowing him so well now, it's like it's still humbling just to hang out with him. You know? But you know, he's just a genuinely like good soul to be with. I know he's been dealing quite a bit with his family. You know. Like,
oh yeah.
But he still takes the time. You know, like with, I guess his mom wasn't in great health, but yet he still showed up at cons and to hang out and chat with us. And,
yeah, he is. It's with him. I always take time. Like if I need to call him about something, I make sure to leave like 20 minutes or more because we end up talking shop all the time. And his stuff is so much more interesting than my stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I'm struggling with hands today, and he's like, yeah, I'm talking to Marvel about these unpublished pages, and I'm like. Yeah, no, you're just way more interesting.
You just go ahead and you do you, man. I'll just.
Yeah, let me listen. So he has been like a comic Sherpa for me especially.
Well, what's fascinating is that he is an exclusively traditional artist in a digital world.
Yep.
Which, I mean, I could say the same about you.
Yep.
You know, like, I mean, not that you guys couldn't do digital anything. You just don't. Like, you're very hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he refuses to go that route. But we were talking with Sarah yesterday, and it was seeing her work was awesome. It was her version of Krampus was very like Beast meets Gaston. He was like very seductive Beast looking. It was just like, and even Haley, she was in there like from the beginning, and I understood what she meant later on when she said it. She goes, "That girl knows her guys." But it was one of her first. She's early transition from traditional to digital as well, and not that you have to make that transition at all.
No,
I think that's absolutely not true. I think you and Javier are the perfect examples in my world of like, no, you do whatever you
feel comfortable. It's I don't know what it's like. Gary lent me a bamboo tablet to try doing some things. Because I would like to ink digitally because I think it would save on the stress of
or having like 8 different versions of it.
Yes, I would kind of like 8 different. I want to play a little bit more in the space than just being what I know I'm comfortable with, and you can't take that risk when you're doing a comic book page. So he lent me one, and the second Pen Clique design. I tried, and it was so I was so unhappy with what was coming out, and it's just beginners. Like I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm still filling out the program, but I put it down and did traditional. Comfortable with. I like having something at the end of the day when to sell if you want to sell it, or hang it or whatever. Now that you can't print that out digitally, obviously.
I do my pencils traditionally usually, and then I go from there.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense.
Digitally, so at least I have something that, but I don't know, there's something...
I like the feel of the page, the pencil and the page.
Right.
And I do look kind of like that adrenaline rush of, if I mess up, this thing is gone. If I mess up, I have to start over. I kind of like that risk. If it's one image, if it's a comic book, which you have 8 different frames or something... No, I don't like that. That risk is way too risky.
Right, I hear you. And I mean, also Isaac is he does a mix of both, but he's a very traditional person. But he'll do colors and he'll do. I mean, he goes back and forth. But I see him as a traditional. Like when I first met him, like it was all brush inks, And it was better you than me. No way. It'd be so unnerving. It's a very brave practice.
It kind of is. And I'm not too much. It's stressful. That's not a. I kind of like the freedom of knowing that you could just Control Z and it can.
You use a lot of different textures and different you use like whites and blacks and ink washes and all that. You have a very like Freddie Williams kind of like similar.
Ooh, yes.
And
I like Freddie.
He's a hell of a dude.
Yeah.
Really nice guy. In fact, I'm proud.
I know. I
got
was,
some of his
I was
stuff on the wall.
gazing over here at his stuff.
He's a hell of a dude, and to see him use a toothbrush for his whites, and then I see some of the work where you do, where you take like all different kinds of different devices to get splatter effects and everything. Like you can't do that digitally, like, and it's like I see why you do that, and it's like that's probably the route that I would go, just because I would splatter paint over all my mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's why you do it.
No,
but
sometimes
if I start doing that out of nowhere, it's very inspired by you and Freddie. And two, I made some horrible mistakes that I couldn't afford to start over. So
it ties a piece together. I remember in high school I was doing a piece. It was for my teacher, Miss Bruton, and she was this collage, and I had to do a watercolor, and it's the first time I ever done watercolor. And at the very end, she goes, "You need to splatter. You need to do some splattering around here to tie it together." And I thought she was crazy. I didn't believe her. I did it. She's my teacher, and she was right. So sometimes the texture and splatter will help bring a piece together.
Yeah.
Versus,
I agree. I mean, even your Krampus was really clean.
Yeah.
And it still had that. Again, like what Gary had said. Nobody else can do it. Nobody else can do what you do. If you see somebody's work and you know whose it is.
That's what I love about the Pen Clique. Because when I was gazing through the thumbnails, I was like, oh, I know that's Gary's. I know that's Isaac's. I know that's... David did one, right?
He did not this time.
Okay. There's one that actually looked like David's style, which I thought was pretty cool.
James, Anna, Haley, Sarah, me, and Gary.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then you made an appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, and Christopher Harris.
Oh, yes. Awesome.
But I don't think his was in the, because he hadn't finished it, so I don't think he uploaded his.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see his.
We got Yarbrough in one. That was pretty fun.
Yes.
But we haven't had him back since. I mean,
yeah, his was
he's welcome to. He just has something.
fascinating. I love his whole story and everything that came
He and
with
Christopher inspired my color choice, because I was going to just do a traditional, like, goat type colors.
Yeah.
But I just, like, my colors have been really kind of boring for me, because I've just been doing them.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, we're going to do lavender. My wife was like, can you make it a little warmer? She goes, make sure you put some red in there, like a deeper red in there. I'm like, okay. And thankfully I listened to her, because I was stressing about it. She's like, look, just... I'm not colorblind, but she's got a better sense of color than I do.
So, I have a horrible sense of color. Seriously. I went for one critique. I went to Spectrum, and when it was in Kansas City before I moved to California, like 6 or 7 years back, and I had a portfolio review, and one of the people, one was from Magic the Gathering, and one was from Marvel. He was an editor, and he used to be an artist. He still is an artist, but he used to do exclusively art stuff. But you need those. He gave me a great critique, but the one thing I remember from the lady, she's like, you have a lot of black and white. Do you have anything in color? And I didn't think about it. It's like, Magic the Gathering needs color. They're not going to just hire you to do black and whites and then, hire you to another artist to do your colors. They could if you're really, 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 really good, but they'd rather have an artist who does all of it,
Oh, yeah.
And so, I remember thinking, dang it, I have to learn color. And I have before. I've been in classes at school that literally are about color theory. I just don't like it. It's okay.
I understand, and it's something that I know I would benefit from the most. It was later on the list of, like, when you spend most of your life learning how to make things and draw things, and then you discover, like, okay, well, I actually want this to go further than just me making it for me or for funsies, like when you pursue it professionally.
Yep.
And you realize, all this time I've been learning how to make things, thinking that if I just did it right, eventually it would just sell itself.
Yep.
And you realize, like, I guess I'm going to have to spend the next half of my life learning how to sell it. Some things go to the wayside, and for me, color theory was one of those things, like,
yep.
Obviously I'm just not good enough, so when I get better, it'll sell itself. But that's not the case.
No.
But color theory is something that I pick up here and there.
I'm learning a lot. So, like, for me, I'm learning. There's a group, or these two brothers called the Eddington Brothers. They're cartoonists in UK, and they, over the years, they put out comics and how to draw tutorials, and then they put a collection of those together. Finally, I got to
Yes!
jump over the barrels. They put a collection together of how to draw tutorials, and they're page-long subjects. So, like how to draw hands, how to draw bark on trees, how to draw certain plants in the jungle, and they are drawn as if a how should I put this? Very cartoony, and very, but it's easy to grasp the information they're trying to tell you. And so I backed them on a Kickstarter, and here recently in October, I got my copies, and it's how to draw 1, 2, and 3, and then how to write what you want to draw. Is another, like how to think while you're writing is kind of what it is. And they are a treasure trove of insight and composition, which I'm learning about composition through these dudes.
Sure.
They're incredible. And so that's like been something I've been digesting slowly, is the Editing Brothers. And they provide all their lessons are free.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you just go to their site, and they have a blog, and you can pick up all the stuff they've posted about drawing.
I got to
For free.
ads for their
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible, and something that I will incorporate when I get back to teaching art. I used to do a monthly lesson at my church, and that was super fun because you only know what you can teach. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes you realize what you know and can convey.
Right.
Once you have to teach it to someone.
And that's something about the panels that were always interesting. And that's something that Clever Kaiju is wanting to aim for. It's not just, look at us, we do things, you should buy our stuff, or you should, hire us. That's totally part of it.
It is part of it, yeah.
The other side of it is that, we know a lot of stuff, and we come from different backgrounds, professional and, otherwise, to where we have a lot to offer as far as teaching people. Because, I've worked professionally with people that have gotten, degrees from very, And there's man, I wish I had somebody that would just do, because I had a pen tool 101 class at OTC, the community college. They were like, I wish I had that. If I had known if I had an entire, semester of just pen tool, because, you get good with it with a mouse, you can draw anything.
Yes. Yes.
So it's and understanding illustration as a designer is incredibly valuable, but knowing design as an illustrator, combining those is incredible. Just being able to bridge that gap. So that's one thing that Gary always talks about in his panel.
Oh yeah,
in his classes, when he teaches,
constantly preaching that is.
It's if you do illustration, learn design. If you're in design, learn illustration. They go hand in hand, and
They absolutely do. That's where I have a graphic design and illustration degree. When I left, I realized I don't really like graphic design all that much. I like to draw.
Oh.
And so I just kept my day job and draw.
I think I like design more because it's my service that I can provide to people.
You're very good at design.
I have I have that blue collar kind of mentality just because I worked in factories where it's you need a thing, you have a problem, I can solve it. Kind of
yes.
Thing. And I'm fine with that.
Well, you're very, 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 very good at it.
Thank you.
I'm going to toot your horn,
but
you never do.
But color theory and even composition is still something that's I love design because it's like putting together a puzzle.
Yes.
The thing is that you have to oftentimes make your own puzzle pieces. Yeah. Which is time consuming and frustrating, especially if you don't know what the pieces are, But it's in the end, whether you're given the pieces and you have to make them fit, or you make the pieces yourself and you I don't know. It's like you solved a puzzle. I know it's hard for me to.
It's so gratifying.
It is.
It is. Arts, man. There's something to be said about the endorphin rush of figuring something out. I was telling someone the other day, I was very tired. I was talking to him and I was like, They're like, how are you? I'm like, I'm okay. I just can't go to that creative space in my brain that I play in all the time, and it sucks because I'm just dealing with the 5 senses I have, and I would really like to be thinking about something else and playing with that in that space. But whatever. So for artists, it's almost a drug where you literally you're creating, and you get the endorphin rush and satisfaction from that. It is intoxicating. I love it.
There's something about like the submitting something for approval. And as much as like it makes me sweat sometimes to not get a response right away, and I hate it whenever it does. Like, oh man, that's fucking awesome! Like, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Come on, ninjas! I'm gonna shoot you in the face.
I think it's just when you identify with what you're good and where you feel like you bring something to the table. Within that realm, that's where that confidence comes in, and it's like establishing your own style, like what it is that you do most and how you can use it. What was that moment for you? Like, what did somebody else kind of tell you, like, oh, that's your style? Like to see this and this and this, and I knew that was Adam.
So it wasn't like one moment. There was a time after college that I was starting to get into conventions, and I remember, and watch out for the bomb. I remember Paige telling me what I was about to do was not a good idea. What I was about to do is I printed out a bunch of illustrations I really, really, really adore and love, and I put a piece of paper over it and I light boxed it. And I was like, what I'm trying to do is determine why I like this piece by recreating the piece in my own hand. It was not a good exercise because I really didn't learn anything. I just marveled over how cool the thing I was drawing is, and I was just copying someone else's work. So after that, there was a time where I'd still use references to draw from things. I still do to this day because you need that because you don't know everything on the planet.
Right.
But there was a time when I started drawing in my sketchbook without reference, unless someone needed like a commission or something. And I started noticing consistency. And I remember Ivan, was it Ivan? Gosh, I can't remember his last name. One of our local artists here, he said that your style is a series of mistakes that you make. And that's so true.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like you're like David Finch.
How you solve your own shortcomings is kind of establishes your...
David Finch, one of the greatest comic book artists for Marvel and DC, I watched videos of him drawing and stuff, and like all of his women look exactly the same. It's just their hair and their costume is different, and that's how he solved that problem. And he shows you the shape of their face. He goes, these are my go-tos, but then design-wise, I put a different costume on them or make them bigger or smaller, and that's his style. That's what that means. Is it perfect? No, and it's different from Dave Stevens, different from Greg Capullo, who's my favorite. Like Greg Capullo, like he is my favorite artist in comics, but I don't believe he's good at drawing like the Justice League, which is exclusively what he's doing.
Right? Yeah.
By the way,
that's his jam.
That's his jam. That's what he's being hired to do. I don't think he draws Superman well because he looks like a normal dude in a costume, but he draws Batman superbly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because he is actually.
Like, a man in a costume. Yeah, he is of this world,
right?
Technically,
yeah.
So yeah, when it comes to style, it was after college and doing the convention scene for a while. I noticed that you gain confidence when you get commissions and stuff. People pay you to do artwork, and they're really paying you to do your artwork. They're not saying, "I want you to draw like Greg Capullo." I want you to draw.
Never happened. I mean, it's like cover bands. That you're the closest thing to Guns N' Roses I know. When you play this annoying ass song,
I've never experienced it. I know my second favorite comic book artist, Sean Murphy. he has experienced that where he did a piece or was drawing a comic book and they kept saying to him, why don't you draw this comic like this guy or artist? And they said it to him multiple times, and finally he threw up his hands and like, why don't you go freaking hire that guy then?
Yeah.
Like, why am I in this project if all you want is this other guy's work?
Because you're cheaper than me.
Because you're cheap. No,
Yeah.
that's essentially the answer. So he got to put him in. Luckily, he got to stay on the project and put him in their place and do appreciate it, which isn't always the case.
Yeah, that's a risk, but it's like, at a certain point, you're like, look, we're willing to be flexible within reason.
Within reason, yeah. So it was a series of small revelations that I came to liking my own style, and that comes with practice. Like I just practice what I really enjoy and what I like. I like monsters. I like superheroes, and so those are the things I draw consistently. I like big muscle guys. I'm not very good at women. It's like when we're talking about Gravebearer Slaughter issue 2. Cullen Bunn, who is local here in Springfield, who is a phenomenal comic book writer. That's what he does full time.
Yeah,
is write comics. He was like, "Hey, what do you want to draw?" And I said, "I want to draw women." And he's like, "Of course you do." I'm like, "No, not like that. Not like that." And I go, "I'm not good at them, so I want to challenge myself to get better."
Of course you do.
But yeah, with Cullen, I'll tell you this. We can take that one too. He's one of the most humble dudes about his craft. But yet he still produces, award-winning comics and stuff that's being made into movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
And
I haven't had much time to sit down and chat with Colin. I know,
he's such a good storyteller too.
It's
so great.
Like in an event setting, it hasn't been in like a person. I haven't had dinner with a guy or anything.
Yeah, that's conventions are fun, but you're kind of distracted.
He's the one guy in your group that I haven't really had gotten to know well. So I think I'm still in his book. I'm still like a fanboy, which is fine because I am.
I don't know if I told. I think I might have told him this at one point. But Kevin and I, when we would go up to the cave to buy our subscription comics, we would joke. We started making a joke about new comics that would come out being written by Cullen. Like it's almost at one point he's like, "I'm going to have everything written ever at one time." And so when I would pick up a new book, I then started scanning for the writer, and if it was Cullen's name, I'd laugh out loud because one out of every 7 times it would be him.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a golden boy, man. That was,
Even to this day, I'm like, Cullen, I can't subscribe to all your comics because I go broke.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's like, fine, I'll give it to you for free. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Oh, here we go.
Kingpin. Yeah, we were very close.
We were very close. But my skills, I've honed in my Nick Fury skills.
I know, we burned through it a little quicker this time around.
Yeah, he's definitely got cancer by the end of this because he smokes so many cigars.
It's the same cigarette too. It's like the never-ending gobstopper of cigarettes.
It's so satisfying to punch the Kingpin. I love it. I love to hate that guy, like that character. So this is kind of cathartic. And I love him in the Daredevil Daredevil series.
Yeah,
he's such a great character and a great villain, especially season 2 and 3.
Yeah, they found the perfect actor to play him too. He's done the live action.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. I saw some yesterday. One of my favorite.
Oh, you picked up that Kingpin.
Yeah, I did.
Threw it.
Yes, I did. Come here.
You can do that? Suddenly the god bleeds.
That's like D&D. If you give it a stat block, you can eventually kill it. You figure out a way to kill it. So if you can suplex him, he will die. Eventually. And pick up his gold bars that just keep falling out of his pockets, I guess. But yeah, one of my favorite fight scenes in Daredevil is with the Punisher at the prison. Of course, stabbing,
right,
mutilating guys, which is interesting and fun. But then immediately afterwards, he's escorted to the Kingpin. And he's weak, he's tired, he's been stabbed a few times.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, I have a proposition for you. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to hear it. I'm going to try attacking you immediately. And that's my favorite part about Punisher, is he's just like, no, I'm not someone you can, someone you just negotiate with. You're a bad guy. I don't like you. But I'm going to immediately attack you. So that's one of my favorite laugh out loud violence.
Right.
Violence? I like violence.
Like cellos.
Special move on Kingpin. Let's get him.
Now look at that, you're blowing all over.
That's right.
Just handle him, I'll just take his goon.
Mm-hmm. Got these buttons, baby. Get it. Oh, I'm dead. No. Okay.
Breaking out the Nick Fury. Oh, hey, big guy.
I bet he's got his second form. Nope. Last scene cleared. There we go.
Like a robot form?
Yeah, I thought he would just be like, and drink like a serum, and he would rip out of his suit even bigger or something. But yeah, the going back to the Pen Clique thing, I love those monthly challenges. I think they're super fun and creative. I love that people get to vote and have a part in it. I almost wish we kind of like split the group in two and do like bi-weekly. That way we can. We have like even more concepts to go through up until VisionCon's convention that they're
right. Well, we do the season finale, so maybe season 2 we could do something. Well, I appreciate you doing this, man.
Absolutely.
Going through it twice because
I know.
I've got to
double the punishment. That's what's the title of it to be.